Welcome to Essential Biz Marketing. In today's video, we begin Chapter 4, Economic Development of Nations. You'll explore how nations measure economic progress, the obstacles they face, and the political risks businesses encounter globally. Let's start with the learning objectives. You'll understand how economic development is defined and measured. Next, you'll explore how nations transition from centrally planned to market-driven economies. You'll also outline the different sources of political risk that impact global business operations. Then, we'll explain how companies manage political risk by adapting strategies, gathering information, and influencing policy. Finally, you'll examine the case of China and Russia to understand their distinct paths of economic transition. Let's take a closer look at India's remarkable tech success story. Infosys, founded in 1981 with just $250, has grown into a global IT services leader, employing over 200,000 people and generating $10.2 billion in annual revenue. Now, you'll discover the differences in development strategies between India and China. China adopted a top-down approach, attracting foreign investment and focusing on manufacturing. India followed a bottom-up strategy by nurturing domestic enterprises like Infosys and emphasizing knowledge industries. Here's how India's market economy has strengthened its global position. India relies on private enterprise, democracy, and Western accounting practices. It has an advanced legal system and efficient capital markets, with growth driven by human capital and knowledge industries rather than low-cost manufacturing. Finally, consider how culture shapes economic development. In India, individualism fosters strong incentives and innovation, promoting entrepreneurship. By contrast, collectivism can limit entrepreneurial activity. India demonstrates how politics, culture, and business together drive economic growth. Let's begin by understanding how economic development is measured. The most basic indicator is gross domestic product, or GDP, which represents the total value of goods and services produced within a country in a year. Take a closer look at another key measure, gross national income, or GNI. GNI includes both domestic production and income earned from abroad, offering a broader view of a nation's financial activity. Now, you'll discover how purchasing power parity, or PPP, refines these measurements. PPP adjusts GDP and GNI figures to reflect actual purchasing power across countries by accounting for cost of living differences. Beyond money, development must consider human well-being. The Human Development Index, or HDI, combines income, education, and life expectancy to give a fuller picture of a country's quality of life. Let's take a moment to classify countries by development levels. Developed countries like the US, Germany, and Japan have high industrialization, strong infrastructure, and advanced social services. Additionally, newly industrialized countries, such as China, Brazil, and South Korea, experience rapid economic growth and industrialization, but have not fully reached developed status. Finally, developing countries often face major challenges. They struggle with weak infrastructure, lower incomes, and high dependence on agriculture or resource extraction. Let's explore the process of economic transition. This occurs when a nation moves from a centrally planned economy to a free market system, requiring major structural changes in both government and society. One of the greatest challenges in economic transition is the lack of managerial expertise. In centrally planned economies, government officials made business decisions, leaving a gap in entrepreneurial and market skills. Another challenge is capital shortages. Transitioning economies often lack funds for infrastructure development, financial institutions, and education systems necessary for long-term growth. Cultural resistance also creates obstacles. Many citizens in former socialist economies were used to government-provided jobs and subsidies, making privatization and individual responsibility difficult to accept. Finally, unsustainable economic practices can block progress. Weak environmental regulations and poor healthcare systems contribute to instability and lower productivity. Now, let's examine political risk and how it affects businesses. Political risk refers to the possibility that political instability or government actions will disrupt business operations, especially for companies working internationally. One major form of political risk is conflict and violence. Civil unrest or armed conflict can disrupt production, threaten employee safety, and damage supply chains. Terrorism and kidnapping are additional threats. Multinational companies and their executives may be targeted in certain regions, posing serious risks. Let's now explore government intervention risks, starting with confiscation. Confiscation occurs when a government seizes a company's assets without any form of compensation. This is considered the most severe type of property seizure. Another form of government intervention is expropriation. In this case, assets are taken by the government, but some compensation is provided, usually at a value far below market rates. Another type of government intervention is nationalization. This occurs when governments take full control of entire industries, often in key sectors like energy and telecommunications. Let's explore regulatory and policy risks. These include restrictions on foreign ownership and unfavorable trade regulations, both of which can disrupt international business operations. Finally, local content requirements are another form of political risk. Governments may require foreign companies to produce a certain percentage of goods domestically or hire local workers, forcing significant adjustments to supply chains and staffing. Let's now explore how companies manage political risk. One common approach is adaptation, where businesses adjust their strategies to local conditions. This may include partnering with local firms, modifying products, or complying with local regulations. Another key strategy is information gathering. Companies monitor news, consult with local experts, and build relationships within local business communities to anticipate and respond to political changes. Finally, political influence is used by some firms to manage risk. By lobbying policymakers and advocating for favorable regulations, businesses can protect their interests while managing ethical considerations. Let's examine the economic transition of China. Since the late 1970s, China introduced key reforms including private business ownership and opening to foreign investment. These steps triggered rapid economic growth, urbanization, and industrialization. China's progress has not been without challenges. The country faces growing income inequality, unemployment among migrant workers, and political tensions. Additionally, guanxi, or personal networks, plays a critical role in conducting business and navigating bureaucracy. Now let's look at Russia's economic transition after the fall of the Soviet Union. Russia experienced severe instability, widespread corruption, and legal uncertainties, making foreign investment highly risky. Russia's challenges continue today. Political instability, nationalism, and weak investor confidence undermine business opportunities. Government interference in private business remains a significant concern for international companies. Let's wrap up Chapter 4. We've explored how political stability, market conditions, and global ties shape economic development. Some countries thrive while others struggle, and businesses must manage risks and seize opportunities to succeed. Here's a quick review of how we measure economic development. We looked at GDP, GNI, PPP, and the Human Development Index, which together give a full picture of national progress and quality of life. We also examined the process of economic transition. Key obstacles include lack of managerial expertise, capital shortages, cultural resistance, and unsustainable practices that slow progress. Next, we outlined the major sources of political risk. These include conflict and violence, terrorism, property seizure, policy changes, and local content requirements that affect global businesses. We explored how companies can manage political risk. Adaptation, information gathering, and political influence are the main strategies used to reduce risk and protect business operations. Finally, we reviewed the unique experiences of China and Russia in their economic transitions. China's reforms led to growth, but also challenges, while Russia's transition has been marked by instability and state interference. This concludes today's session. We look forward to exploring more topics together.